My name is Jim. I'm a New York City-based composer, performer, and educator on the saxophone, and today I want to start a series about the art of improvisation. Most discussions I've heard here on YouTube and other social media platforms seem to deal more with the craft of improvisation. For example, the notes of a particular scale, cool lines to learn, or what the right and wrong notes are over a particular chord. Don't get me wrong, these are important parts of being an improviser, and we'll get into all of it. But I want to dig into what it means to truly express yourself through the medium of musical improvisation, how the masters of their craft thought about and executed this, and how we may tap into it ourselves. The art of improvisation is the most important driving force in my music. It's what inspires me and propels my musical progress. In many ways, it's why I continue to practice and play in the first place. And while I consider it one of my deepest passions, I am also aware that I know far from everything on the subject. So, while it might be particularly painful or humbling, I not only want to talk about my successes in improvisation, but I also want to highlight some of my failures for a couple of reasons. One, because there's a lot of them. And two, and more importantly, because over my career, my biggest failings have been the biggest catalysts to my growth and success. Getting out of your comfort zone and making mistakes will make you better. So while I hope to be informative and insightful here, I also hope to motivate you to go out there and fall flat on your face. So, what is improvisation? Often, when we discuss improvisation, it is inexorably tied to jazz, the 20th century Black American music that centers around improvised solos. Jazz was certainly my gateway into improvised music, but it has existed in many ways, in mediums and forms and traditions before and after jazz. Bach, Beethoven, and Mozart were all known and well-respected improvisers. Improvisation is an integral part of most classical traditions. The cadenzas in classical pieces were originally meant to be improvised. Improvisation is often defined as the art of spontaneous creation, or making it up on the spot, but I'd like to push back on that a little bit. In his amazing book Free Play, which I will be referencing a lot in this series, Stephen Nachmanovich digs into the art of creation. In a sense, all art is improvisation. Some improvisations are presented as is, whole and at once. Others are doctored improvisations that have been revised and restructured over a period of time before the public gets to enjoy the work. He also quotes famous 20th century composer Arnold Schoenberg. Composing is a slowed down improvisation. Often one cannot write fast enough to keep up with the stream of ideas. Improvisation and more classic forms of artistic expression come from the same wellspring. Nachmanovich and Schoenberg are arguing here that the creation of all art starts with the same spontaneity that we so often associate with improvisation. The difference is that the composer, writer, or painter have a chance to edit, change, refine, alter, adapt, analyze, arrange, unassemble, and reassemble their improvisations before you consume them. What we're really doing when we improvise is narrowing the distance between the spark of creativity and the execution of the music. Practically speaking, there is no time to put up a mask, to hide yourself under a cool facade. There is very little, if any time at all, to judge what you're doing in the moment. When we're improvising, truly improvising, we're giving the audience a window right into the inner workings of our brain. So, how do we get into improvisation? The truth is, you already do it. You improvise every day. Unless you wake up with a script on your nightstand every morning, you move through the world as an improviser. You might know generally what you're going to do or what situations you may face on any given day, but you make up the details on the spot based on the unique and unpredictable situations presented to you. You use the tools of language to communicate with others and make your opinions be known. But many musicians, from beginners to professionals, have a difficult time doing this musically, breaking away from the chains of the little black dots on the page to create on their own. I remember being in my second or third year as a saxophonist when I really began to examine and experiment with improv. I became enamored with improvisers and improvisation, hearing the masters perform their craft and being absolutely fascinated about how they did what they did. Thing is, I was a middling saxophonist in 8th grade, and we were all afraid to try. Acting with a determination and clarity of mind known only to a 13-year-old, I made a decision. I decided that whenever I was in jazz band and the director asked, "Who wants to solo on this piece?" I would raise my hand. No matter how hard or daunting or over my head, I would volunteer to step up and take a swing. Thinking back, it's strange to think about how big of an impact that decision had made on my life. I did this religiously all through college. It taught me a lot about not only improvisation, but standing in front of crowds, entertaining an audience, and taking control of my fears. The honest truth is that it takes a lot of practice being comfortable on stage, making up music in the moment. That doesn't happen overnight. So jump in and don't be afraid to fail. You're going to fail, as I did, over and over and over again. But every time you do, you will learn and improve. Okay, so for all of these videos, I want to make sure that you have an exercise and something to practice and try on your own. And I want to leave you with that as well as an example of my playing today. So this is going to be a 60-second or so improvisation. For this exercise, I want you to pick tools in your musical toolbox that you're already comfortable with. We're not trying to learn a new scale or play at a tempo you've never played before. Although in time you'll find this exercise to be useful for learning new material, right now focus on the art of creation only. Now we're going to add some limits to our playing. John Scofield once said to me that jazz musicians just want to be told what to do. We're going to make improv a game or a challenge by purposefully limiting ourselves. I would love to do a whole episode about the power of limits at some point. But to paraphrase Nachmanovich again, there is no art without limits. So embrace them. Okay, so first, pick your notes. The simpler the better. A major scale for this is just fine, but you can create a lot with just 3 notes. Make it a challenge for yourself. Today I'll be using the G-flat major scale in my example. Second, pick 2 rules. I mean, you can have as many rules as you want, but 2 seems like a good place to start. These can be anything that constrains what you can play. Some of my favorites, using a 1-bar rhythm, playing only eighths or quarters or triplets, playing a certain number of notes per phrase, or playing only within a certain range on my instrument. After using particularly limiting rules, I like to break out of them at the end of my session to see what kind of comes out. You can try this too. My rules for my improvisation will be lyrical, singable phrases, using mostly long notes with short 3 to 5 note phrases. At the end, I will do this breakout concept to see what happens. Third, pick your accompaniment. This can be anything or nothing at all. You can really get creative with this, but I generally stay pretty simple. A metronome, drum track, or a drone, 1-note drone, are really great to play along to. As you expand this exercise, your imagination is your only limit here. You can sit down with your favorite albums or recordings and see what comes out, especially if your instrument isn't on the track. That can be a lot of fun. Today, I'm not going to use any accompaniment. I'm going to play solo. Finally, play with meaning and end your phrases confidently. Leave space and avoid run-on sentences. I found that this can be a way to kind of hide our indecision. If you end your phrase strongly and leave space, it'll propel you to your next idea. There's no rush at all, so take your time. Before I play for you, I want to remind everyone to like and subscribe and comment and do all the YouTube stuff. I mean, there's a reason why everyone asks you to do this. It really helps us get discovered by new and fellow musicians. So if you like what you saw and found it useful, take a moment to do all the YouTube things and share with your friends. It would really mean a lot for my small channel. Also, I get a lot of motivation and inspiration from you all in the comments. So if you have a question or an idea for a video, please leave it. I will definitely read it. And unless it's totally insane, I will consider it for a future video. Okay, let's get improvising. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.